All right, what's up, guys? Welcome back to another episode of the Living the Dream podcast. Today on the show, we have Isabelle Fortin, who is a standout mindset facilitator, entrepreneur, and public speaker. Isabel, how you doing?
I am doing fantastic. How are you doing, Tim?
I am also fantastic. Thanks so much for asking. And we like to
Wonderful.
jump right in. So if you could start with telling us a little bit more about yourself and what you like to do for fun, that'd be great.
Well, as you prepared the stage here, I am a mindset facilitator and a public speaker. I've been doing that since 2009. And before that, I was a massage therapist. So it was kind of along the lines, right? Because I help the body and then I help the mind. But you can never do only one of those. You usually help. If you help one, there's a ricochet effect to the other. And what I do for fun, anything to do with music. I dance a lot. I dance often because that's the thing that brings me the most joy, and gets me connected to who I am. So fun is music related, always.
And what type of dancing?
All of it. I do social dancing. I do salsa, bachata, kizomba, merengue. I do Argentine tango. I've been dancing probably since before you were born, I'm guessing. Uh, yeah, so I've been dancing for over 30 years now.
Oh,
It's just,
there we go. Yeah.
yeah, it was just, it was, I discovered it quite by accident. I was a singer in a classical music choir, and we went to a singing party, and all of a sudden, two or three couples started to dance, and I looked at them and I thought, oh, they look like they're having fun. And it was on rockabilly music. And I started, like, say 16 or 17 days later, I started my first course and I never looked back. I keep dancing.
There we go. There we go.
Thank
Well,
you.
tell us a bit more about your motivation. What really gets you up and keeps you going every day?
Oh, my motivation on a daily basis is to be as connected to who I am as possible, because it's so easy to get lost. It is so easy to lose track of who you are. And we have to have really good tools to stay connected and reconnect when necessary, because sometimes, well, life is going to throw you a curveball. So it's that's my motivation, is to keep myself on top of, is this the right thing for me? Is this, am I being overwhelmed by emotions here, or does this problem or situation actually affect me, or does this belong to somebody else? And I've taken it as my own, because most very empathetic people do that. We tend to take other people's problems and make it our own, and we try to solve it, and we fail. And we fail because it's not ours to solve. So that's my daily motivation, is to be as connected and as grateful as possible.
Mm, gratitude.
Daily gratitude practice. I start my day with gratitude, I end my day with gratitude, and I say thank you all of the time, because that's the best way for me to stay connected to who I am.
Okay. Okay. And does the thank you all the time, does it just entail you writing down stuff you're thankful for? Do you write down the things you're thankful for and why you're thankful for it? Do you just think about it? Tell us a little bit more about that.
So I start my day with a gratitude journal, where I list 10 things I am grateful for, and that's before my feet touch the ground. 10 things that I am grateful for and why I am grateful for them. I find that being grateful and just listing them out as I would do a grocery list, that for me, that doesn't work, because that doesn't help me connect to the emotion of gratitude.
Mhm.
So I need to know the why. So I start my day like this. I end my day lights closed, in bed, with both my hands on my heart, and then I just go through my day and I find three things that I'm grateful for and why I am, because it's the emotion that gets you to the real gratitude. So I end my day like this, and throughout the day, depending, sometimes I'm human like the rest of you, like the rest of us, and sometimes I get overwhelmed like everybody else. So I will take a moment and I will pause and I will breathe in, and as I exhale I'll say, oh, thank you for whatever. And it's not always easy. I live in a big city and sometimes I get stuck in traffic and somebody cuts me off and all I want to do is swear at them, and but I try, and I'm pretty good at it so far, and I try to just come back to the gratitude and say, well, perhaps this person has, prevented me from getting a speeding ticket because I got a lead foot, right? So and I say, well, if anybody holds the door for me or helps me with something, I say thank you more than, sometimes more than I should. But I'd rather say thank you and say it for no reason than having a reason to say it and not say it.
Yeah,
So
absolutely.
that's how I feel about the thank yous and the pleases.
Yeah. Oh, for sure. Well, let's go ahead and jump into your dreams and goals now. What's your vision for your business and your life?
They're the same. I want my job is to help people be who they are and to dare being who they are. And that's my job, and that's also what I want for my life. I want to be surrounded by people that are true to who they are, because I really, really strongly believe, Tim, that everybody has a special gift, and I call them the God-given gift. I am not overly religious, to be honest. I'm spiritual, but I'm not overly religious. But I believe that if everybody on this planet, everybody has a special gift, and if everybody on the planet were free to be who they are, this would be such an easier life.
Mm,
If you call a customer service of a company because you bought something that was broken, and if the person at the other end of the phone would actually like their job and not work there just to pay the mortgage, and they actually truly wanted to be there to help you and they weren't going through a script, imagine how easy that would be. But that applies to everything. It applies to the doctor, the nurse, and the mailman, and the so if everybody could do that, for me, that's I will not live long enough to meet the other 8 billion people on this planet, but if I could, I would help all of them one by one to be who they are.
mm.
That's my goal.
There we go. I love it. Is there anything you
Thank
want
you.
to add to that, or you want to keep it there? Just help people be who they are.
I just I just help people be who they are and see who they are. I find that a lot of people bought into the recipe of life. They bought into their family's limiting beliefs or their community's limiting beliefs or their own, obviously, and they bought it without questioning.
Hmm.
And they go through their entire life not knowing that maybe it wasn't the right thing. If I'm sure you know some people, even you went to school with some people like that they were on the engineer or doctor or lawyer path because that's what mom wanted or that's what dad was, or they married the next door neighbor because mom really loved him, without, and he's a nice guy, so why not, without really questioning, okay, but do we really share the same values and can we really grow together? So yeah, that's my dream. I work every day at it,
Mm.
and it has to start with me.
So, what does it look like to help people be who they are in the day to day for you?
It's asking a lot of questions.
Mm. Yeah.
And Tim, we spoke a little bit before we started recording this podcast, and it's not at all a criticism because that's how it works in my life. But who asked the other one more questions?
Yeah, you did.
Because that's the way I am, because that's what I do for a living. I ask people questions, and sometimes it's light, and because it can't be like deep into our soul, like every single conversation. But I ask people questions. And one of the things that people find when they seek the help of a therapist or a coach, most people find, okay, well, they're going to provide the answer. We really don't, but that's not our job, because you already have the answer. Our job is to ask you the right questions for you to realize you already have the answer.
Yep.
Here's a very unpopular, I'm not going to make friends with this, and I'm okay with that. Here's a very unpopular way of looking at my job. My job is to ask you the question to which you know you don't possess the answer right now. And I'm going to tell you why. Because if you want to learn something about yourself, you need to answer a question. You need to find the answer to a question. The answer is never in the answer. The answer is in the question. Which question are you asking? And the mind, I have coaches, I have 4 of them. The mind that creates the problem, or that creates the limiting beliefs, or that creates the situation, cannot be the mind with the solution, because you're stuck. You're in a vicious circle, right? You're going round and round and round, and you can't see your way out. You're I love that you can't see the forest, you're standing too close to the tree, right? The tree is right here, and you can't see that behind the tree there's something.
Yeah.
That's why you hire a coach. And I find that people in general resist working with a coach because they think that it's going to be, oh, if I start working with a coach, I'm going to be, paying her or him for the next 4 years, and I don't have that kind of money. There are some of my clients I've met 3 times, and then they go into the world, and then sometimes they come back, and they come back a year and a half later, and they come see me 4 times. It's not, I think that the big difference between coaching and therapy is we don't deal with mental health. We deal with what is there. A therapist, a psychologist, is more long term. In my experience, is more long term. If you go see a shrink, it's most likely going to be every week or every second week for X number of years. With a coach, it can be that, but it can also be very, very, very the opposite.
Yeah. I like that distinction. I also like the focus on questions, because I was reading this book, Change Your Questions, Change Your Life.
Yes. Great
And
book.
yeah, it was talking about how our dialogue is just like question, answer in our head. And even though we're not like audibly asking the questions, any thought we have is in response to a question we're like subconsciously asking,
Yes.
which really blew my mind, because I was like, okay, that's I can see that. Like I can see where that's true. And so then you just think of different questions, or hire somebody or work with somebody or have a friend who knows how to ask you really solid questions. And yeah, it could change your life. So I like that focus there.
It's the we're with ourselves, we're never going to ask the right questions.
Yeah.
We need the outside. We need, and it can be a friend. You're totally correct. Friends are wonderful, and I have one but. It's a small one. Um, a friend is usually someone that is like-minded,
Mhm.
because we tend to gravitate towards people that resembles us. Married people have married friends. Dancers have dancer friends.
Mhm.
basketball players hang out at the hoop and they have basketball friends. What more than likely, our friends are going to be so similar to us that the questions that they ask are the same that we would ask ourselves. I encourage people to make friends with people that have nothing in common with them. My best friend, I have met my best friend in 1989. Excuse me. And Tim, the only thing we have in common is that we're friends.
Yeah.
We have nothing in common. She's married, I'm not. She has children, I don't. She lives outside of the city, I live in the city. We have nothing in common except for the fact that we're friends. So every time I go to her with a situation that I'm dealing with, I know that her perspective is always going to be different from mine. And that is so valuable
Yeah.
because she's always going to say, well, I don't see it that way. And this is how I grow. And I do the same with her, obviously. But this is how I grow inside that friendship because she's always making me look outside of myself or outside of my limiting beliefs, not outside myself, but outside my limiting beliefs. So friends, yes, talk to a friend, but choose a friend that's not like you.
Yeah. Absolutely. Well, awesome. Let's go ahead and jump on to the next question, which is going to be interesting. Actually, before we jump to the next question, I want to ask you, what makes a good question when you're conversing with somebody?
As a therapist, as a friend, we're both.
Questions that help people be who they are and see who they are.
My questions are always they always have a mirror effect.
Mm-hmm.
So I will not suggest anything. I will reflect on what they've just expressed. So to make them think more, and sometimes to even make them realize what they just said. Because you know how many thoughts you have in an hour? I mean, it's unbelievable the amount. I don't have the exact amount, but it's unbelievable what goes through a human brain. So, and that's even when we're like just with ourselves, like with our thoughts, we're having a conversation, but what I'm saying and what's going through my mind, I'm saying maybe a tenth of what's going through my mind. So yeah, as a coach, they're always reflecting questions, and honestly as a friend too. It depends on the problem.
Yeah.
But see, my friends and I have a 5 or 6 really really close friends, and I have a deal with every one of them. And it's if they call me in order to bounce an idea, regardless of its personal, professional, or whatever, I right up front ask them, what is your need from me today? So if my best friend's name is Josie, so if Josie calls me and she's had a spat with her husband and she just wants to vent, I'll say, what do you need from me right now? Do you need me to hear you? Do you need me to agree with you? Or do you actually want to hear what I have to say? And most of the time she'll say, I just need to vent. So I let her vent. And when she's venting, I will find at least one thing that I can support her in, as in I agree with her. If I don't know, she had a spat with her husband and she's finding unfair. And in the way that I look at the situation, I can see why she's finding it unfair. I will support what I truly support.
Mm-hmm.
And most of the time, once she's done venting, then she'll say, okay, so but what do you really think about it? Because here's the thing with emotions. And there's a Harvard University study on this. I didn't make this up. An emotion that is acknowledged and that has the permission to live and to exist and to be recognized lives for 90 seconds. After that, you are keeping it alive. The emotion, the flow of emotion is gone. So if you stay, if somebody says something that's really, ordinary, and you're kind of being troubled, if you acknowledge that you're troubled and you know why and you recognize that and you accept that this is the emotion that you're going through, 90 seconds, it's gone. After that, if you stay in resentment and if you spin and if you start playing the movie in your brain and you're cultivating that, that's a choice. That's not an emotion, that's a choice. You are choosing to stay in that crap. So once I'm done validating what she's going through and what I can actually connect with, after that, it's over. So now she's open to saying, okay, but what do you really think about it? And if I don't agree with her, I'll say I don't agree with her. If I agree with her husband, I'll say I agree with her husband. I'll support it with why, but and that's being a mirror is just, but you need to know what the other person is talking to you for.
Yeah.
I saw, if I can sidetrack for a second, Tim, I saw an interview, I think on TikTok. It was Brene Brown in a podcast or an interview. And she was saying, I love that. She was saying that her and her husband, when they come home at the end of the day, they've made a deal that they actually voice out, you know what, I've had a horrible day at work. I've got 20%. I'm not at, because marriage is not 50-50. And no relationships is 50-50. So I've got 20%. And then she can say, you're good. I've got you covered. I'll cover the other 80.
Mm.
And they sat down and have plans on how to deal with one another and the kids and the house and everything else. That if he comes home at the end of the day and he's got 20 and she has 20, then how are they going to deal with the fact that between the two of them, they only have 40%, but they need 100? So what are the strategies they're going to use? And that for me is so beautiful because it can't escalate. The trouble can't escalate because there are strategies in place.
Yeah.
it
Yeah.
go it it's similar to me telling my friend, okay, so what do you need from me right now? But we don't do that. It
Yeah.
was a long answer to a short question.
No, I think that's great. I think that's great. It helps us bring bring the idea of like what questions you're asking to what the situation is calling for. It's like first there's an understanding that needs to happen. Um, and then you can ask questions that follow the intent, like you start when your friend was saying, yeah, I just need to rant. Now it's like, okay, I'm not looking to fix our problem. I'm looking to like resonate with her and connect with her on a point that I can genuinely connect with her on. So then you're looking for different stuff and then you ask different questions as opposed to if you were fixing the problem, like with a laser focus on solving it in 5 minutes or something like that. You'd ask different questions. And so,
Yeah, and I find, and I'm guilty of that as well. I keep myself in watch, but um I find that when people, especially people we love, come to us with a problem, we can't let our need to fix the problem be greater than what they're going through, because it's not about you, it's about them. They came to you and they need something from you, but what you have to offer has to be in sync with what their needs are right now. So I find that a lot, and like I said, I do that as well, but I find that a lot of time our ego needs to help. My friend, she's my best friend of 30 some odd years. She needs help. I'm going to solve her problem, but most of the time I can't.
yeah.
So I have to just stay in the listening mode and just be there. And sometimes it's just be there.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, awesome. Tell us about the top 1 to 2 skills that you need to develop right now, to kind of help people be who they are and see who they are more so, if any. I don't know. Maybe you have them all.
Oh, no, I don't. Oh, that's a wonderful question. Thank you. You're making me think here. I love that. Um, in general, in life, and in my business, I could use a little bit more patience. And patience is not something that comes naturally in with me. It's we have a funny joke in my family because my dad is extremely patient, and I'm the youngest of three. And I think that my sister got 75% of my dad's patience, and my brother got 20. And when it was my time to draw in the bag, I there was 5% left. So yeah, patience is it'd be the biggest, and the one that hurts me the most, the one that's the thing to acquire that is costing me the most energy in my life in general.
What do you think creates impatience?
Oh wow. For me, it used to be, it's not anymore, but it used to be the need to be right.
Mhm.
So if somebody would challenge, and I'm talking a long, 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 long time ago, if someone would challenge the way I think or the way I did things, I would get upset. But that was insecurity, and it would show up as impatience. Now it is, um, now it's a feeling of urgency to live. I'm more than likely past my half life, the half of my life, the middle of my life. So I know that I will not live long enough to learn everything that I want to learn. I will not live long enough to see all the beautiful places on this planet that I really want to see. And so there's a sense of urgency. And I think that is getting me impatient. And it's funny because I remember my paternal grandfather died at 93. And I remember I was a child then, but when he had to stop driving his car, actually my dad and one of his sister blocked his car in because he had started doing um like not doing his stop sign and speeding in the school zone, and it wasn't because he didn't see the stop sign or anything like that. It's just he was too eager. Like he knew he was coming. He was 70 something years old at the time, and he knew his time was running out, and he was always in a hurry. So I think that part of my impatient now is that, and I have a tendency of having a left foot. I've spent a lot of my money on speeding tickets.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I got you. Um, so I'm gonna tell you a little bit about myself, and then I'm gonna tell you why I resonate with that and why I'm curious about that. Is that okay?
Okay. Yeah, of course. This is your show, Dan.
Okay. So I have, big dreams and goals. And so I have that urgency to live, urgency to experience those dreams and goals because, it's like people in a typical 80 years probably aren't accomplishing the things that I'm trying to accomplish. So if I'm gonna be about it, I need to go and be about it, which takes some urgency, takes some focus, and that creates impatience on my part as well because I'm really trying to experience what I'm trying to experience and go do what I'm trying to do. And then the thing that gets me about that, and some of my friends, so it's twofold, right? So some of my friends are like, you can't go out and try to live life and miss it in the midst of trying to live it. And then,
Oh, wow.
yeah, because a lot
Oh,
of
I'm
times,
gonna have to write this down. Oh, I love that. Okay.
yeah, because I'll be trying to do something really big for a lot of people, but then I'll miss the small day-to-day interactions with the people that I love. And they were like, if you look back on your life after 80 years, are you going to remember the big thing that you did for everybody and they're thankful for it? You helped them, but you neglected your kids. Would you rather have a solid relationship with your kids, have a solid relationship with your spouse, with your friends and your community, and miss that? Or would you get that and miss the solid relationships? And obviously, there's a balance to where you can have both. You can go strive for both, but it's like, where's your priority? And so I think just thinking about kind of how I'm setting my goals and then what I'm prioritizing has been creating impatience in my life when it's really like everything is okay right now. And I'm urgently trying to get somewhere, which is in reality pushing me away from where I am, which is the only place I'll ever be, where I am right now. And so it was just this funny dynamic of like impatience to me was dissatisfaction with the present, which isn't necessarily a circumstantial event. Like it's not based on circumstances, it's based on like perspective of circumstances. And so that's kind of how impatience has been rattling around in my, because I've struggled with it my whole life. And I'm like, uh, I tried to define it. I'm like, what even is impatience? Like, what am I like? What
Not
am I?
getting what you want.
Yeah. And so it was just, anyway, those were my thoughts on impatience the past couple months. And I'm curious what you think.
You really want to know?
Yes.
There's no such thing as balance. It's a myth.
Hmm.
We aim for it. We want it. We seek it. We work really hard to get it, and it doesn't exist. Here's here's the real thing, and it's again a very unpopular way of thinking. The very, very, very successful person, I was going to say man, I corrected myself. The very, very successful person has neglected something. It is a myth. So if you want to be top of the corporate food chain, CEO of big 500 Fortune company, it's going to cost you, and everything has a cost. So the seek of balance is just weighing that cost.
Yep.
That's it. So is what is more important for me? And you know what? There's the good thing is you're allowed to change your mind.
Yeah.
It's just that if I don't know if you have children or not, but it's just that if you neglect the relationship with your kids, well, maybe when you're ready to tag that in to your priorities, perhaps they won't be there anymore.
Yep.
Perhaps they'll move on and sometimes it is out of bitterness and sometimes it is out of resentment and sometimes it's just out of well, I've lived my life without you for a while and it's been going okay. And I've come to terms with the fact that you were absent. So I'll continue my life this way. You know,
Mhm.
it's, I'm going to take a cat as an analogy. When I don't know if you have a cat, when you go on vacation for a week or 2 weeks or whatever, and you either bring the cats to the shelter or somebody comes to your house to feed them and whatever, when you come back, people are often will say, well, my cat is mad at me, so now he doesn't come to see me anymore. Like I came back from vacation and he doesn't come to see me anymore to get scratches or his belly rub or whatever. No, the cat is not mad. The cat doesn't. He just moved on, and you weren't there anymore. And perhaps the couple of days, I mean, this is a cat brain, right? So perhaps for a couple of days he was going, where are my belly rubs? And after that, he just dealt with the fact that you weren't there to give them. So when you come back, he's like going, well, who the hell are you? And some cats will be totally the opposite. It's just most of the time there'll be a 2 or 3 day period where they're not as affectionate with you as they would be or as they were before you went on vacation. Well, it's the same thing with people. Think about the people that you talk to the most in your life. Think about 2 of them. And every time you talk to them, you have a lot to say. Stop talking to them for 6 months. When you're going to see them again in 6 months, you're not going to have as much to say because you're not going to go into the daily, I went for a burrito yesterday and it was so fantastic. And you're going to miss all of that. But all of these small things is life.
Yep.
So I understand your need for seeking balance. And it's actually very honorable. But it's like perfection. It's a myth. Everything you're going to do and everything you're going to aim for is going to cost you. Sometimes it's going to cost you money. Sometimes it's going to cost you energy. Sometimes it's going to cost you relationships. And you have to balance the cost.
Yeah.
And as a little bit older person, I'm going to dare to give you an advice. Get used to the fact right now, or as quickly as possible, get used to the fact that you don't get to do it all. So choose, go after the things that makes your soul sing. Go after the things that bring you joy because you're not going to have enough time to do it all. You're just not.
Yeah.
It's sad, but it's the human experience. It's funny because the other day somebody said, because I'm writing a book and I'm guest on podcasts. Like I said earlier, I don't think I'm ever going to host one, but I have a 21-day challenge and I have an online business and I do coaching and I do public speaking and one of my friends recently, she said, why are you opening all these doors like at the same time? I said, because life is going to close the ones that aren't for me.
Yeah.
So I'm going to open them all. I'm going to push them all. And eventually some of them are going to close and I say, okay, so I'm going to go through the ones that are still open. But more than likely, the ones that are still open are the ones that are going to resonate the most with me.
Yeah. There we go.
It's just grief, Tim. It's just you're gonna have to grieve a lot of things in your life. You're gonna have to grieve people and relationships, and you're gonna have to grieve people and relationships even if these people are still alive. So you just have to choose. That's it. It drives me. It's not about you, but it drives me nuts when people talk about balance. You're not gonna get balance. It doesn't exist. You're not gonna be perfect. It doesn't exist.
Yeah.
But we seek it because it's cute.
Yeah.
Because it's the Hollywood way of seeing our lives. I get to be the CEO of a Fortune 500 company, and I have a beautiful wife and 2 kids, and they adore me. Well, perhaps, but good luck with that.
Yeah.
Sorry, didn't mean to burst your bubble.
Oh no, you did. I think the balance thing, um I don't know. I've been into some self-improvement books for a while and I've had a couple that just shattered the idea of balance. They're like, yeah, you're not gonna be balanced. Like you're gonna have to, if
I
you
have to choose.
if you do kids and you run a business, your health's probably gonna go down the drain. Like you're not gonna be going to the gym for 2 hours a day, like however long you
Somebody's gonna
want,
get
or
it. Yeah,
you're not gonna take those.
something's gonna get.
Yeah, yeah, something's gonna give. But I think like you said something in there of like when you stop talking to somebody and you start talking to them again after 6 months, you don't tell them about all the little things in life, and those little things are life. And so I
Yes.
think like tying it back to the kind of impatient side of me. It's like the urgency to like go achieve whatever I'm trying to achieve, balanced or not balanced. Because I really only have like one goal, and a lot of stuff gets smushed on and rolled over on the way to that goal. But it's like, am I like, if impatience inherently comes from discontentment with life, and it's because my urgency is causing me to neglect the things, the little things that actually make up life. I'm like, we're like the cause of our own impatience, which is
Of
just,
course we are.
but it's such, but in such a like, we say we want to be more patient, and then we continue to cause the impatience by how we act and what we prioritize. And I think that's just such a funny, because I know we cause everything in our life, like extreme ownership for sure. But then like the extent to which humans know what they're doing and then just continue to do it, it's like you can know it on a head level, but it baffles you when you're looking yourself in the mirror and seeing that you're doing it. All these things you're trying to help people through, it's like you struggle with it too. And then yeah, just like how much a bad habit can keep going. It just
I think I think that I don't think that impatient is bad. I think intolerance is bad.
mhm,
Um, it it depends obviously on how impatient manifests. I mean, if your impatience or my impatience means that you start screaming at people, then there's nothing okay about that. If your impatience is just about you and achieving your goals, then perhaps it's just a motivator, a motivator. Um, but intolerance.
yeah.
And I think that when we get overwhelmed by our impatience, it shows up as intolerance. And I think that that's what we have to watch for, because I recognize myself in you and I see it. I see your eyes spin. I I see it. It's like that the hamster is running, right?
Mhm.
So yeah, I think that that's the thing for people like you and I is to just watch the intolerance. Is if a friend is spending, and I'll use an example for me, but if a friend is spending just a little bit too much time to talk about her spaghetti sauce, I need to just sit, because I've spoken about my spaghetti sauce to her in the past, and she didn't make me feel like what I was saying is stupid.
Mhm.
So I think that, and it's funny because I've just realized that while talking to you, that it's not impatience, it's intolerance.
Yeah. Yeah, no, that's very fair. That's very fair. Well, awesome, Isabel. That's all the time we got for you. Thanks so much for coming on the show.
Jeez, already?
I know it went quick.
You're gonna have to have me back.
Sounds good. Sounds good. Was there anything else you want to chat about before we sign off?
If people want to connect with me, my website is www.izzyfortin.com. That's IZZYFORTIN.com. And you can find everything that I do on there. And that's it.
Sounds good. Well, thanks so much for coming on the show.
Thank you for having me. It was great conversation.
Of course, of course. And if you guys are listening to this and you loved what Isabel had to say, make sure to check out her website. All the links will be down in the show notes. Thank you guys so much for watching. We will see you on the next one. And on that note, we're out.